Hello friends, once again welcome back to my YouTube channel Basic Learning Maths and Science. So the topic which we are going to discuss today is I know why the cage bird sings poetry of English class 10th or class ninth. Before starting the explanation of the poem I know why the cage bird sings, we must know something about the author. The author of this poetry is Maya Angelou. Maya Angelou was an African American poet and civil rights activist. She tried her hand at diverse professions in her life. She was an actor, writer, director, and producer of plays, movies, and television shows. She was a professor at Wake Forest University in North Carolina. So, this was some in brief introduction about the author. Now, let's start our today's poem. I know why the caged bird sings. So friends, this is our poem I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings by I am Maya Angelou. Okay then, before explaining this poem, I must read this poem one time. A free bird leaps on the back on the wind and floats downstream till the current ends and dips his wing in orange sun rays and dares to claim the sky. But a bird that stalks down his narrow cage can seldom see through his bars of rage. His wings are clipped and his feet are dried, so he opens his throat to sing. The caged bird sings with fearful trail of things unknown but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom. The free bird thinks of another breeze and trade wind soft through the side trees and the fat worms waiting on a dawn bright lawn, and he names the sky his own. But a caged bird stands on the grave of dreams, his shadow shouts on a nightmare scream. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. The caged bird sings with a fearful thrill of things unknown but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom. Here your poem ends. Now let me explain you this poem stanza wise. This is your first stanza. So the author in this poem wants to tell you the in the opening stanza captures the natural beauty of the sunset. The free bird suggestive of a white American. Here the free bird shows white Americans leaves on the back of the wind. That is, he flies and sways with the wind in the evening against the orange sky. He has the right to claim the sky. As he flies, he dips his fingers downstream. Here, the poet makes the reader participate in the delightful experience of freedom of the bird, where there is no restriction. Every movement becomes blissful and joyous here. This was the explanation of first stanza poem. Now second stanza. Here, this is your second stanza. Here, the author wants to tell this stanza brings in sharp contrast the condition of the encaged birds. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he can hardly move in his narrow cage and see through his bare bars of rage. He is in anger, but is helpless. He only opens his mouth to sing, but no one can stop him from doing so. Thus, the bird can enjoy the full sky, the encaged bird cannot have a glimpse of the sky. In other words, a person who feels restricted as a result of any kind of discrimination, prejudice, or powerlessness cannot enjoy the fruits of freedom and equality. He can only yearn for full freedom and struggle for it in different ways. Now, here is your third stanza. This is your third stanza. The caged bird here is shown to be afraid of many unknown things, but this fear does not prevent him from giving expression to his dream of freedom. His voice is heard far and wide as he sings of freedom. Here, the poet makes it clear that the voice of oppressed people, their longings and aspirations cannot be suppressed. No fear can stifle his voice, rather, this voice is now heard in distant countries. Now, here, this is your stanza 4. Here, the author wants to tell that This stanza takes us back to the free bird, making the difference between the two birds starkly clear. The free bird can think of another flight in another breeze and can enjoy the sighing of trees, whereas he can find his own food. He can claim the full sky and his own. On the other hand, it is obvious that the encaged bird has no such freedom or right. Now, your fifth stanza, there is again a shift to the encaged bird and his helplessness. The bird in this cage stands on the grave of his unfulfilled dreams as his movements are restricted. He can only cry out like one who has had a nightmare. This is a frightening image. A person without freedom can only act abnormally, for the state of captivity is abnormal. Now, here's your last stanza. There is the repetition of the stanza third. Again, here the third stanza is repeating. It is emphasizing again and that though the encaged bird has never experienced freedom, he still sings of it. His songs is heard now far and wide. Now his songs can be heard so far and wide. And his longing for freedom and equality cannot be dismissed as a distant voice. In other words, the poet feels that the voice of black Americans cannot be suppressed. They are made for freedom, and despite all restrictions and suppressions, they would not relevant and continue to struggle for freedom, which is their birthright. According to me, this poem is very nice, and here the theme of the poem was racism, yearning for freedom and equality. This poem was against the discrimination between white Americans and black Americans in America. I hope you have understood this poem and liked my way of telling you and explaining you. If you like my video, please like, share, subscribe my YouTube channel. Thank you. Have a nice day.